name is David, and I live in Northern California, and I want to do a video for my Bat Builder channel. I have a buddy of mine who kind of showed me some pictures of a guy who's building a tumbler, and he's building it pretty darn accurate. I mean, even to the point that he's got covers that go over the brake calipers that look just like the original one. And I think that's great, you know, that somebody wants to do it as original as possible. Mine is not as original as possible. One big thing on mine is I shrunk the whole thing down so that it can be street legal, and that would be 8 foot 6 inches to mirrors, but I mean 8.5 feet. So that's what I shrunk mine down to, because the original one's like 9.5 feet, and technically not supposed to be on any federal highway in the United States. So that's number one issue. Number two, which is a really big issue for me, is safety. I know when I built my tumbler, I made a rolled cage that the whole thing sets in, and it's made out of DOM, which is called drawn out material. Instead of it being pipe that is cut in a long rectangle and then bent around and then welded, this material is actually pulled out of the furnace under pressure, and it's actually drawn out, and so there are no seams in it, and it becomes super strong. And most of the time you buy it by the inch, not by the foot or by the tube, so it's kind of a special order thing. So I did that for safety in case I were to roll over or get side impact by a car, and so that was important for me for safety, because mine is a 4-seater, and the original one is a 2-seater. But the thing that always draws my attention when I see people building these things, and I have seen a lot of people build them pretty darn accurate, is the front tires on them. They're Hoosiers. They're actually dirt track tires, and when I first ordered my first set, I do have them on my motorcycle, because I'm not going to take my motorcycle on the street. It's only for display. And hopefully that's what this guy's going to do too. Because when I first went to pick up these Hoosier dirt track tires that went on the original tumbler, I remember getting into a conversation with the Hoosier guy, distributor, and we were talking about possibility of putting a harder rubber inside of there so that I could have the look, but it would just be a lot safer, because it says right on the side of them, not for highway use. And I talked to him so much about it, and he come to find out that this is what a lot of guys are trying to buy them for the motorcycle and also for the front of the tumbler, that their ears are really peaked up about this because of litigation. When I went to Schwab tires to pick up they said your tires are in. So I went there to pick them up, and I was shocked because they looked like balloons. They didn't have any sidewall. They were just all laying there, almost looked like an inner tube. And they go, "There's your tires." And I'm like, "Oh my God." I go, "Is that for real?" And he's like, "Yeah, that's it." Because they look so big, and they look balloon-like, when you see them on the vehicle. But that's when I realized, I wanted to see if I could get a harder material, rubber made, or thicker walls on the sidewall. And the guy told me it's just impossible. They can't do that. So he asked me what I was going to use it for. I said mostly as a display vehicle, but I would like to drive it around on the highway. And he said right away, no, these are not made for highway use. If you drive them on the highway, we are not going to be responsible if you get in an accident. And I go, "Well, what's going to happen? Are they just going to wear out?" He goes, "They have no sidewall. They're made for dirt tracks. So when you spin around a dirt track, it's always sliding. There's almost no traction. But on a highway, you've got maximum traction, So when you go around a corner, the most common thing that could happen on it is you'll lose the bead, which is the sidewall. The sidewall will just come right off because there's no stiffness to it. And he kept describing it as a catastrophic failure. He goes, not only could you kill yourself because your front tires just fell off the rim, but you could also kill somebody else, or get in an accident, or say there's kids walk out in front of you and you turn and all of a sudden you lose both tires. He was so adamant about it, he scared the crap out of me, and so I went with a different set of street tires. They're called Mickey Thompsons, and I liked them because they were the widest radial tire that they made. And I mean, they have their low profile, so the sidewall is very thick. It's made for like dragsters or racing, going around corners, that kind of stuff. So I know that they're not going to be a problem, and I have driven it 65 miles an hour, maybe 70, and turning it, and there's no problem at all with those sidewalls because they're just so stiff. So when I see people try to make it exact, I cringe a little bit because, number one, they're making it too wide for a federal highway. Number two, these tires are an issue. You can't run those kind of tires and drive it around. I did see one where a guy was driving around Las Vegas. He was at the SEMA show, and he's driving around with these, down like a freeway with these tires on it, and it just made me think, oh my God, hopefully he's okay. He doesn't kill somebody. And then the last thing that was an issue is this is a movie vehicle. The way that the rear tail lights and the front lights are set up is you're not going to see it from the side. It doesn't have side indicator lights, so that you illuminate it from the side. So if you can imagine a recessed light, and I do see this sometimes, like in fact I'm passing a truck right now with a semi-truck, and he's got the lights coming out just directly out the back. But if he had no side indicator lights, he would not be able to be seen as he drove through a intersection. So I have what look like Hummer lights for the rear, and then those are just set out the back, so it's hard to see from the side. But then I have side lights on it too, and they're just like a Hummer would have. I have red on the back and amber on the front, so that it's pretty easy to see. If I was driving through an intersection at night, you could see it from the side. So when I see these ones that are built actual, that's another issue. You could be driving around at night, hopefully not, on a highway, and then all of a sudden you end up getting side impact because the people literally can't see you. There's no side lights. So hopefully they will take care of that. And so that was just some of the things I wanted to talk about making these movie vehicles too movie accurate. Those are the issues that you're going to run into. And I'm sure, there are some places that are just crazy, some states that they'll just register your car. I remember there was one guy, I believe he's in Kentucky, and he had his 89 Batmobile registered as an 89 Batmobile. That blew my mind because you can't do that in California. Mine is registered as a specially constructed vehicle, and it has to pass an inspection. So in his case, his is in a museum. But what's cool about it is he used a race car chassis to build it, and it's registered as an 89 Batmobile, because they were like, well, what is it? Oh, it's an 89 Batmobile. So they registered it like that, and I'm like, it's so cool, to do it. But the issue is always going to be when you get in an accident, maybe it's a major collision, and hopefully it doesn't happen, but somebody dies. Well, then you're going to have somebody looking at this with a fine-tooth comb. And if you're driving a vehicle that is not legally made to go on the road, you could be liable. A lot of people are like, I don't think it's ever going to happen. They're not worried about it. But the liability issue is a big deal in California, and they'll have plenty of time, years, to to put a case together against you, for coming up with something that was not legally drivable on the street. And it's kind of like driving without a license. If you get into an accident and somebody gets killed in the accident, well then they're going to look at you, even if you're not the person at fault, that you will be at fault because you shouldn't have been driving at all. You shouldn't even been on the highway. Had you not been on the highway, the accident would not have occurred. So people never think about this, but my wife is involved with litigation with a major insurance company, and she's a paralegal, and I hear about what happens, in these cases. Not necessarily about specially constructed vehicles, but you better have everything together. If you're, oh my God, if you turn a corner because say you're going down the road, all of a sudden some kid runs out in front of you, you turn your tires really quick, and the tires come off the rims, and you end up hitting a kid and killing him. Oh my God, you could have just lost everything that you have. You don't want to go to court when the case against you is you shouldn't even have the vehicle on the road. It says right on the side of it, not for street use. So on the side of the tire, it's embossed. I've even heard people say, well, I'm going to sand it off. I don't even know what that's going to do, because they can easily go and they're going to call Hoosier, and Hoosier's going to say, no, those are not for street use, and somebody has sanded that off. So it never seems to be a problem until you get into an accident. Then they're going to have plenty of time, years, to be able to analyze, what you did that may have created this accident to begin with. So I just wanted to say that because I saw it today with a buddy of mine who sent me some pictures, and I was like, oh my God. But nobody's going to think about it until they get litigated against. And if you have assets, that's where you're going to have the problem. So anyway, just wanted to say that and get it out of my system. And just be careful with any of these manufactured, specially constructed vehicles, that everything is done properly. Starting with the tires being street legal. Thank you much.